はい、お願いします。僕はドクタージミーいます。大丈夫。ユニバーサル・スタジオ・ジャパン。今、ハロウィーン・ホローナイト2016ハロウィーン・リボーンAlright, enough of that. So you're probably wondering, what the hell? Yes, there's something you might not have known about Dr. Jimmy. That's who I am, of course. Dr. Jimmy, your humble serpent. And, oh, yes, T-shirt of the day. The Gozerian Society. Voga Sodra here. Goes to the Gozerian. Oh, that's kind of timely. Anyway, well, speaking of timely, this video is in reaction to some news I got this morning. At the beginning, you probably wondered, is he speaking in tongues? Has Dr. Jimmy joined one of those funny churches? No. I'm an Episcopalian, very quiet and peaceful in the services. None of that jumping about and chanting in tongues. No, that was, of course, Nihongo, Japanese. Why is Dr. Jimmy speaking in Japanese? How does Dr. Jimmy speak Japanese anyway? Well, it's very simple. I wasn't born in this country. Some of you might think, well, of course not. He was born in jolly old England. No, I wasn't. I'm not British. No, the accent's fake. I'm American. Yeah, America. No, actually, I was born in Japan. It's an island kingdom. It's a fading empire. It's had undue influence over the continent it's next to. It has a special relationship with the United States after some animosity in the past. It has a constitutional monarchy that no longer has any real power, it's just symbolic. A lot of similarities between Japan and England. Lots of, cultural eccentricity kind of goes hand in hand with all that. But no, it's not the same country. No, on the other side of the planet. Not the same country at all. But, nevertheless, I was born there, lived there till I was 7 years old, so I do have some affinity for things Japanese. In fact, when I was a wee lad living in Japan, little boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, quite adorable, all little Japanese girls used to run up and kiss me. They didn't stand a chance, of course, but who knew back then? I did, of course, everyone does. But the fact is, I got on telly. I was on the Sakamoto Q show. It's a pop star in Hokkaido at the time, bit of a big celebrity, and he did a show in Sapporo, and I was on the show, and I got to sing "And You're Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hands" with him right there on the television, making my television debut at the age of 4, and the girls liked me even more after that, I can tell you. Even though, or maybe even because of the fact that before I finished the song I got a bit stage fright and started to cry a little bit because I got scared, and that just made "oh kawaii" even more so. That's what happens, in Japan. So they just thought adorable little gaijin boy. But and I grew up to be this big fat old thing. Oh dear. Oh well, peaked at 4. What can you say? But I have an affinity for that strange land of the rising sun with its rather odd pop culture. And so I was quite delighted this morning when Halloween Horror Nights had its first grand reveal. Yes, the entire event reveal was revealed today. And you think, oh, Halloween Horror Nights was revealed today? Oh, quick, let's go see. Wait a minute, there's no new houses. There are only 5 houses in Orlando, or maybe it means Hollywood. 2 mazes in Hollywood. What you talking about, Dr. Jimmy? What was revealed? Yes, the entire event of Halloween Horror Night was revealed in Osaka, Japan. There are 4 horror nights each year after all. This has been for the past, roughly 6 years. There's one in Singapore, one in Japan, one in Hollywood, and one in Orlando. 4 every year. Isn't that amazing? In fact, if you count them all up, including some of the early ones in Japan they don't count very often, like 2011 and 2002. If you count all the events in Barcelona, back at the early part of the 21st century, and put them all together, this year we'll have, the 4 events this year will be number 57, 58, 59, and 60, historically and internationally. Isn't that amazing? Didn't know there was that much horror nights happening in history, did ya? Yeah, that's even more than Not Scary Farm. So maybe it really is the premier Halloween event, if you think about it as a global phenomenon. Whoa! In fact, didn't they say at the media preview not preview, the opening night media press event. World domination was their secret plan. I think ILO or the other guy said something like that. Yeah, Jim something. The guy who said boss of every. I don't remember his name, and he's the big boss. Oh well, never mind. Well, anyway. Yes, today a page went up on Universal Studios Japan's website. It's kind of hard to find it though. I put a few links here and there on Facebook for you. There was a tweet this morning. Twitter that had a link. But if you search real hard, you might find it. It's the Halloween Horror Night 2016 page, giving all the information about the event in Japanese, of course. And if you don't read Japanese, you're fucked. No, not quite. I can read a bit of katakana and hiragana, but I don't do well on the kanji. There's two different entire alphabets, I guess. They're actually phonemes, but you have hiragana for Japanese words, katakana for words that have come into Japan from other languages later. Kanji are the pictograms, the Chinese characters taken from Chinese and incorporated, because Japanese do that. If someone else has something good, they'll take it, incorporate it in their own stuff, and then claim to have invented it first. They do that a lot. But the kanjis, I don't know so many of them. There are thousands of the buggers, and I only know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the numbers, one for month and day and year, and one for man, woman, rain, snow, that kind of, just a few handful of kanji, because I left Japan when I was 7 years old, you see. I was only a little kid in Japan. And in fact, when I gave my little thing in Japanese earlier, I think I said boku instead of watashi. Which is what a kid would say, talking about themselves. They wouldn't say watashi, they'd say boku, because I was a little kid when I spoke Japanese, so I still have a little boy's Japanese, not a grown man's Japanese. That's what happens when you leave a country when you're a kid. You still speak kid slang. So, what about what about the event then? What did they reveal? Well, first of all, this event will open on September 9th. 2016, one frickin' week earlier than the Halloween Horror event in Orlando, and probably also Hollywood. They haven't released Hollywood's dates yet. It's raining. It's getting loud in here, raining. I have to speak up. Yes, because likely Hollywood usually starts the same day as Orlando, but 3 hours later, because the time difference between the Pacific and the Atlantic, right? Therefore. So, 1 week earlier, September 9th, that's a rather early date, going all the way to November 6th. So it's longer and bigger than as far as time, and probably more nights than the events in the United States or Singapore, but we almost never hear about it. So there we go. And it's usually a highly IP-driven event, mostly IPs. This year the same, but some more original content than usual. I like to see that. So first of all, we have no major theme or icon. They've never done those in Japan, but we have 3 IP haunted houses based on American IPs, which they usually have done in the past. Yes, and the 3 houses, they have, the first one is Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah? It's called A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Maze 2. Yeah, Freddy Krueger's come back for his 2nd year. This is the 2nd Freddy Krueger themed haunted house in Japan. They did Jason, they did Friday the 13th for 3 years running, and then they started doing Freddy Krueger, and they usually have this house in the same exact location, Lombard's Landing, which is a quick service restaurant, it's a table service restaurant in Orlando. They actually have a haunted house in that restaurant in Japan. Can you believe it? They've done that for years. So, if it is in the same location, for the 5th year in a row, they've got a haunted house in that location. 2nd time back for Freddy. That's common in Japan. Like I said, they did Jason for 3 years in one location. Now they're doing Freddy twice, the 2nd Freddy. Chucky's coming back. This is his 3rd year in a row for Chucky's Horror Factory. That's Chucky's Horror Factory 3, it's called. It's in Soundstage 22, which isn't a soundstage at all. It's just a building that they use for things, and they call it a soundstage to keep a movie studio theme, even though the park in Japan is strictly a theme park. It's not used for production like Hollywood or Orlando is. So, those 2 are coming back. Well, the 3rd one, though, is totally new. They didn't bring back Alien vs. Predator again this year. They didn't bring up, they didn't reuse something. They have a totally new one. The Exorcist. So therefore, The Exorcist is going to be in 3 different Halloween Horror Nights at the same time. In fact, it's going to be in Japan first then Orlando, then Hollywood, 3 hours after one in Orlando opens. So you've got Exorcist in 3 different haunted houses, 3 different horror nights at the same time. Awesome. And I wonder how different that one's going to be from the ones in the States, because the Japanese tend to be a bit more gory and a bit more explicit and extreme. They can probably get away with some stuff from the movie they couldn't show in either Hollywood or Orlando. That should be interesting. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go see it. I'm not poor, but I'm not that rich. Someday maybe I'll have the resources and the time to travel all around the world and do all 4 horror nights in one go. Not this year. No, not by any chance this year. By every chance, I'll be in Orlando only, with chance. But not so, I can't even do Hollywood. But one of these days, I'll be doing more than 1 horror night. Not this year, though. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that. Who knows? If I'm still alive. Not a young man anymore. Anyway, getting back to it. Yeah, so those are the 3 IP haunted houses based on American IPs, which is typical. But the last one, there's another house. It's an extreme house. Yes, they do the extreme houses in Japan starting last year. Sign a waiver. Have to be 15 years old to get in. And it's a repeat of the one they did last year, set in a disturbing hospital where all sorts of very nasty, unnecessary surgeries go on. Trauma 2, after last year's Trauma. Trauma 2. So we've got 4 haunted houses, one of which is an extreme house. And another thing they've been doing in Japan for a couple of years now is having Japanese IPs show up, not in haunted houses, but in haunted attractions. They've taken attractions like Back to the Future. They won't do that this year because that's gone. It closed earlier this year. Or Jurassic Park, that's still there. Jaws or Terminator 2, or sometimes even a roller coaster like the Space Fantasy. And they've dressed it up. They've overlaid a horror theme over it from a Japanese horror film franchise. Last year they had 3. This year they only got 2. This year, Sadako, that is the girl from The Ring. Not the American version, the original Japanese Ringo one, the original Sadako. She'll be back again, haunting some attraction. I don't know which one, because if it's written there in Japanese, I can't figure it out. But the other one is Gakko no Kaidan, which is Haunted School, which first appeared last year. Sadako's been there for several years, but Gakko no Kaidan only appeared last year. It's coming back this year for one of the haunted attractions. Ju-On was one for 2 years running, not this year, and I don't know why. You know, I thought, you know, with Freddy vs. Jason having been in Orlando last year and rumored to be in Hollywood this year, maybe, and why not do Freddy vs. Jason? Since they've had both Freddy and Jason, they might do Freddy vs. Jason. They didn't do it this year, maybe next year, God only knows. They might do it someday. So also there's a film in Japan right now called Sadako vs. Kayako, combining Ring and Ju-On, or Grudge, you know, the one with the woman who creeps down from the attic and her little kid who wears underpants all the time and thinks he's a cat, and sometimes he is a cat, you know, Kayako and Toshio. Yeah, that one. So they both had haunted attractions last year, and they're in a movie together, you know, where they're versus each other, but they didn't do that either, so they only have Sadako and Gakko no Kaidan. Okay, so they've cut down probably because they don't have nothing to put in the Back to the Future, because Back to the Future is gone, and they haven't figured out what other attractions to haunt. So Sadako might be in Terminator 2 like it was last year, and Gakko no Kaidan, or whatever attraction it was in last year. I'm not sure which one that was, but one of the other ones that have a theater. Shrek? I have no idea. It might have been. I wasn't in Japan last year. It's hard to find out some of this information off the top, you know, when you're trying to look it up. So much of it's in damn Japanese and doesn't get translated as much as it should be. All right, getting back to the other stuff. What's that? Oh, yeah, streets. We've got street zombies. They've been doing street zombies since 2011, even before they started doing mazes again in 2012. And they've had the same sort of street zombies. They're a lot more creative with the zombies in the streets than they are in the States. So if you're used to Walking Dead in the streets, don't worry, this is better, because they get more creative, and they have like all sorts of zombies, freakish ones, you know, women with babies, baby zombies, and weird little dwarf zombies, and huge, grotesque, morbidly obese zombies. You know, great big guys in fat suits, or even sumo wrestlers, I don't know. One of which last year was a sort of death metal goth zombie, was morbidly obese, horrific. They got super zombies. Super zombies are like prisoners. You know the Mashorians with the chainsaws? Well, these are guys and girls, mostly guys, who are criminals, horrible criminals, bad guys. They got turned into zombies. Somehow they kept their intelligence, though, and they have chainsaws and big hammers and axes and all sorts of weapons, and they run madly through the streets, sort of their version of a chainsaw drill team, but they're zombies at the same time. It's quite horrific. And the regular zombies sometimes are like pushed around by these guys. There was one really funny scene in the streets last year. I saw it in the video. A zombie had like a body part, like an arm or something. Another zombie comes and tries to take it away. And it's like a couple of dogs fighting over a bone, right? That's awesome. And the big, the super zombie grabs it, holds it up like, like a kid teasing his little brother. And the other's jumping up, and they can't reach it because he's holding it over the head. So trying to get the body part. It's hysterical. And the zombies in Japan, they're often themed to two different parts of the park. Sometimes you have pirate zombies around Amity, and sometimes you've got like, explorer zombies around Jurassic Park, and sometimes in like a Chinese restaurant, they've got zombies in Chinese outfits, and they often shout and scream and run, not just all the time. It's like, they're running after you. So it's quite fun. Creepy little girl zombies that start giggling and laughing and shrieking at you. Weird stuff. So they do a lot of fun with these zombies, not just the regular shit. And you only see this in Japan because it's a weird country. You've got sudden zombie dance breaks. They stop what they're doing in the street like a flash mob and start dancing to Thriller. And sometimes going up on a little stage or something. It's quite amazing. Quite amazing. It has to be seen to be believed. There's lots of videos on YouTube. You can look them up. But they'll be doing that again this year. But there's another street area. It's called a J-horror area, and it's called Tatari. Now, this is brand new. This is original stuff, because I looked all over, and I can't find any Japanese IP called Tatari. This has to be new. And Tatari is a Japanese word with rather ominous overtones. It's hard to translate this word into English exactly. It sort of means curse. But it's more like a really awful bad curse from the gods that's going to fuck you up forever curse. It's a really awful word. It scares Japanese people just to see the word or the kanji up there. It freaks them out. And it's the name of this J-horror area, which I guess means it's a scare zone or something. And the artwork, because it doesn't tell much in English, but the artwork shows all these little creepy Japanese dolls. Really creepy little girl dolls, and these cute but horrible, and one has like blood coming out of its eyes. So there's something rather freaky with little dolls perhaps and ancient curses in a sort of Japanese horror themed scare zone, which apparently is not an IP but original content for Japan. So other than the Trauma House, this is something, it's been so IP driven in Japan, even more than Hollywood or Orlando for so many years. It's amazing to see some original content at last. It's like, oh, exciting. So, and they're bound to have some sorts of shows, and they usually theme their food. So if you go to a restaurant and get food that looks like brains or stuff, creepy, dead body parts and stuff, and really freaky, candy that's shaped like bits and pieces of dismembered corpses and stuff you can buy in the shops. And so it's a really weird event in a lot of ways, hysterical at times and eerie at others, from what I've been able to garner from just perusing the internet and looking at lots of videos, because I've never had a chance to go to Osaka. So one of these days, hopefully I will get a chance, and if any of you are lucky enough to do that, then post some stuff for us to hear about it, because it's amazing. So that's the first Horror Night event this year. Then, of course, Orlando on the 16th. Probably the same day will be Hollywood, about 3 hours later, and the fourth and final Horror Night for this year will be in Singapore, Halloween Horror Night 6. That'll start on September 30th, I believe is when they say. That's a Saturday. No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong month. Let's see, where's September? Where's September? Where's looking at a calendar? Yeah, September 30th, Friday, 2 weeks after our Horror Nights in Orlando. And that's actually the earliest date they've started in Singapore. Up to now, the 5 previous Horror Nights they've had in Singapore started in October, so they're actually starting in the month of September for once. So it gets a little bit longer every year over there, but it's still the shortest event. So, and the last one. So, it looks like a lot of fun. And again, if anybody out there is a freaking millionaire and can fly to 4 different countries, no, actually, California's not a separate. Is it a separate? Maybe it is a separate. No, it's not a separate country. It just seems like it is sometimes. If you can fly, to 4 different to 4 different Universal Studio parks, from the West Coast to the East Coast, and to Singapore to Japan, and manage to do all 4 events in 1 year, you should get some sort of special prize. I think. I don't know what. Maybe your own, I don't know, your own clown nose. Jack's been in Singapore, by the way, a couple of years ago. He was there. So, he pops up everywhere except Japan so far. All right, so that's all I've got for today, for this special video, my reactions and my announcement for those who weren't aware of it, that Halloween Horror Night 2016 at Osaka, Universal Studios Japan in Osaka, was fully announced this morning. So that's 1 down. We have only 5 mazes and 1 scare zone announced for Orlando, only 2 mazes announced for Hollywood, only the theme and a video with a sort of Bloody Mary-like woman hiding behind a mirror attacking people in Singapore. We don't know anything about that haunted houses or zones yet, and very little about the others, but maybe real soon we may find out more. They've been hearing talks about a reveal coming up maybe by the end of this week, and it's already Thursday. So let's wait and see. So all I can say is Ganbatte! All right. Onegaishimasu.